I'm a firm believer that most children, when they are like very young, tend to like have weird things just absolutely scare the shit out of them. Most of the time, things that aren't even remotely scary, but for some reason, they just cannot handle it. I, for one, am one of those people that for some reason, just odd things got under my skin between the ages of 1 to 5. So today I'm going to be revisiting some of these things. I have a little bit of a list written down, but I also have a few things that just off the top of my memory I'll probably be able to find and remember. So in a nutshell, pretty much, I'm going to be revisiting my childhood trauma. When I think of things that were not remotely objectively scary or creepy, but I was still for some reason terrified of, the first thing I think of is this show that would come on the baby channel that my mom would often put on for me. And it was just the baby channel was just an assortment of shows for like very young, like infants through toddlers. One of these shows was called Wonderbox, and I absolutely hated it. I talked to my mom about this, and she definitely remembers it. Even when it would just first come on, I would just start either screaming, crying, hiding behind the couch, or probably shitting my pants. Whenever Wonderbox would come on, I was out of the room. I was gone. So it's basically this box, and it has stuff inside of each side of the box. Here you got some, mouses on pogo sticks, shapes, whatnot, turns into a hat. But there was one part within this show that scared the shit out of me, and I'm going to explain why. So it was this, right here. I'm not going to give this any context. I'm just going to let you guys watch it, and maybe you'll be able to figure out why it scared me, but most likely not. Are you seeing it? You're definitely not seeing it, so I'm going to explain it! So basically, in my mind, the way that the box really just kind of squeezed together and moved side to side. It was very flexy, like very rubbery, as you could see here. See how it kind of squishes together and stretches out in that weird manner, and then it starts doing this thing. Now, the thing is that this is a fucking box that doesn't have, like, a brain. It doesn't have eyes, or, like, there's nothing human about this box. It's literally just a box with stuff on the outside of it to make it look colorful and babyish, and then there's stuff, like, inside the box that are there for education purposes for children. But the thing is that even now, I can understand where I was coming from. Why is this a thing? There are other baby shows out there that do a much better job at what they're trying to do than this. It is a box. So just the way that it moved really freaked me out, because it's like it wasn't human. It wasn't even like an animal doing human-like things. It was just straight up something that's supposed to be an inanimate object doing things and stretching. Take this for example. Like, imagine this thing just like starts stretching, and okay, that wouldn't be that bad. I just don't like boxes, I guess. So on this list that I made, I have a total of 2 SpongeBob episodes. It's the episode where Sandy goes into hibernation and SpongeBob and Patrick are in her dome for some reason. And Sandy gets very big and very mean, and it scared me to my core.
I'm Dirty Dad!
Which one of you fellers is the real Dirty Dan?
Alright, but I'm gonna tell you right now, specifically, the very specific scene that scared me was this.
For those crimes, Pinhead!
That. Right there.
Okay.
That's what it was. Okay. I don't know why this was, because I look back and I can at least understand my 1-year-old self with Wonderbox, but with this episode, I kind of don't really understand. But if I had to make a prediction, it would be something like knowing the fact on how Sandy is kind of an innocent character in SpongeBob, and to like see her very mean and aggressive is like weird. So the other episode of SpongeBob that I wanted to go over was Hooky. Now, Hooky scared me a lot due to this.
Oh, I'm hooked. And that means...
I was terrified of this, I'll admit it. But there was also another part that I could not even find that was in this same episode where it was that same effect, except there was this scream in the actual, like, in the episode, there was like a human scream, which scared me a lot, although I cannot find that anywhere on YouTube. That terrified me a lot. I did not like that at all. Ghostbusters bathtub scene. Oh my god, it's this. I wasn't even sure if I would have been able to find it just by typing that in, but I didn't know what else to type in. Oh god, it's literally just a guy recording his screen like with his phone. Okay, I haven't seen this since this is actually the first time I have seen this since it actually scared me. So, who knows, maybe I'm going to have Vietnam flashbacks. I don't know. But this scene from Ghostbusters 2, all I remember is there was this bathtub and pink goo started coming out of where the water's supposed to be, and then eventually the goo just kind of consumed this whole bathtub, and the bathtub started moving in weird ways. And I think it kind of freaked me out, similar to how Wonderbox did, because of how the bathtub was moving. Just the way the bathtub just kind of turned into rubber almost, and it just started like moving. That's how I remember it. It might be completely different. I have not seen this since I was like 5. Yeah, this is it. This is so weird to watch. I just hate how it's recorded like this. Hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and see if there's actually a better it does not look like it. We're gonna have to stick with this. This is the only one. Also, another thing that I remember is that this also spawned a fear of baths for me, which kind of sucks because every human needs to bathe, and watching this caused me to be afraid of like my own bathtub. My parents can vouch for this. This is just recorded so... see, look, and then it's just like pink goo. And you could see it in the tub. That was really scary to me. It's exactly how I remember it, but I want to see if it actually shows what happens with the tub itself. Yes, it does. Did you see the way it's bending? Look how the bathtub is. I know the quality is very bad. That's just this video, but look how the bathtub is like. When I was a young child, I could not deal with shit like that. I don't know how else I can explain it. I know damn well I was afraid of this for the same reason that I was afraid of Wonderbox. It's just weird. It's just weird. Now, obviously, I look at it and I'm like, but I can see. I can literally... This is weird to see. This is weird to see because of how scared I was of this when I was younger. It's weird. Okay, now this is the only game that was on my list, and I think a lot of people might actually know what this is. Scary Maze game. I never actually played it myself. I played an off-brand mobile version of it, but I've never actually played the original OG Scary Maze game. But I remember when I first heard about it, it fascinated me a lot because of like, it just sounded cool to me. Like as a young child, I was like, yeah, Scary Maze game, cool. And I don't even remember the first time I was exposed to this, but I do know that it scared me a lot. I probably don't need to explain it, but you're this dot and you gotta like go through without touching the walls, and it's kind of a prank game. You know, I might sound stupid even trying to explain this because I have a strong feeling everyone knows what the fuck this is. Basically, level 3 happens and it gets very skinny, and watch what happens. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Okay, this might actually get me. Because, okay, no, it didn't. Okay, I was gonna say, they were doing it so slow, I didn't know when it was actually gonna come. But, that shit scared me. But that's just a jump scare. And this face also, this is Linda Blair while she was possessed in the movie The Exorcist. Great horror movie. One of my favorite horror movies of all time. But I also remember I did not know where that face came from. So I do remember one time I was at a restaurant with my family and some of my mom and dad's friends, and I asked my dad who this was. I was like, I had my iPad, not this one. I had an iPad and I had this picture on it, and I was like, what is this? I asked that to my dad, and he was like, it's from a movie called The Exorcist. And then I was like, what? What? And he's like, exercise, except exorcist. That's when I first heard of that movie, and ever since then I had really wanted to see it. And just to show how young I really was when I was exposed to the Scary Maze game, for reference, ever since my dad told me about the movie The Exorcist, which is what this face was originally from, Linda Blair, I've been wanting to see The Exorcist out of pure curiosity. I always had a dark curiosity. That's why some of you guys might actually only know about me because I watched the Lucifer Valentine movies for a YouTube video once. It's my most popular videos. So I just really, even at such a young age, I really wanted to see The Exorcist. Had no idea what it was about, had no clue, but the way my dad described it to me and knowing that that face was in the movie, as terrified as I was to ever see it, I was so curious as to what something called The Exorcist would be about. Obviously, I didn't know what an exorcist was at that age. That made the curiosity even more. What the fuck is an exorcist? Getting to my point. I'm rambling at this point. Okay. For reference on how young I was when I was exposed to something like the Scary Maze game, is that I begged and pleaded my parents to let me watch The Exorcist with them. Obviously, I wasn't going to by myself at that time. And after, I think it was roughly a couple of years until eventually they let me watch The Exorcist. And it was a birthday present from them to me. Literally, them letting me watch The Exorcist was a birthday present for me. How old was I turning? 8. 8 is not a good age to be watching a movie like this. I mean, it's rated R, and for an 8-year-old, the movie's probably, I mean, it was scary. It's a scary movie to be 8 years old and watching it. But I've been wanting to watch the movie, I want to say, since I was about 5, because that's when I remember, like, I feel like I was around 5 when I asked my parents about who this face was. So, yeah. Blame my parents partly for my obsession with disturbing shit, because I was exposed to The Exorcist at age 8 or 5, however you want to spin it. Oh, it's just a story set. Hey, that's funny. Drill sergeant scared by Scary Maze me. That's actually fucking funny. I want to see this just really quick. I'm sorry. This just needs to happen. I'm just having fun at this point.
Yeah, you was gonna break it. All right, you was gonna fuck my fucking thighs up. What's up?
Oh, that's funny. Now, I have one more thing. This last thing is not a movie or a TV show or a video that I could show you. This is more of a story time, and this is something that I really need people to be like, yeah, I've been there before, because everyone that I talk to does not understand this. I'm sure somebody out there had to have heard of the term fever dream. Come on, it's like, it's not like obscure. A dream that you have while you're sick, mostly with a fever, believe it or not. Basically, with my experiences with fever dreams, and there's no way I'm the only one, okay? You could dream about something that's not really scary, particularly, just kind of odd, and when you're having this fever dream, you are scared while it's happening, but you don't know why it's scary. I don't know how else to explain it. It's not actually scary, but it scares you while it's happening to you. Everyone I talk to in person has no fucking clue what the fuck I'm talking about, and it pisses me off. When I was 7, I had a pretty bad fever, and I was having trouble sleeping for days, and this is my earliest memory of a fever dream, which is why it was so profound, because it confused me so much. Everything about it, it was just a mind fuck. But basically, I was sleeping in bed with a fever, 7 years old, and I had this dream where I had a yoga ball, and I actually have, and it's the same yoga ball that, like, I have now. This. Now, it's kind of large. It won't fit on the screen. Oh, God, I have a green screen. If I put something up, I don't know what this would look like. It was, like, a pretty decently sized yoga ball. And I was in just this white room, probably 10 by 10 feet, and I had this yoga ball. I threw it at this white wall, and obviously the ball came bouncing back at me and I caught it, but the ball was like twice as small. So instead of being like that big, it was like, you know, this big. And I just wasn't thinking anything of it. I was just like, okay, so this is fucking here. So then I decided to throw the ball back at the wall, and then it bounced back at me, except when it came back, it was about that big. And by this time, I was mortified. It went to 0 to 100 right then and there when I was like, holy fuck, what the fuck is this? Why? But I did it again. I threw the ball back, came back. It was like, it was like a golf ball. And it still looked the same. It was just a lot smaller. And I'm like, what? Am I getting bigger? Is the ball getting smaller? Why is this happening? And then I threw the ball again, and it came back. It was fucking this big. By this point, I just kept doing it to the point where the ball was basically an atom, but I still knew it was there. And that shit was so scary. Like, it doesn't sound scary, but I was terrified. Because by this point, I had this ball that I couldn't even see. But I knew that it was there. I could feel it in my fingers. But I kept just throwing it at the wall, catching it. Throw it at the wall, catch it. And it was still getting smaller, even though I could not see it. It was down to a microscopic level. But I could not see it. But I still continued to throw the ball at the wall. And I kept catching it. And I knew I was catching, I don't know how I was catching it when it was a fucking atom at this point, but I kept catching it, kept throwing it back, I kept doing it, and it was scaring me more and more and more and more. Till eventually I woke up, I was in a puddle of sweat, absolutely terrified. Like, I woke up crying, I think. And I was just completely I was completely covered in sweat. I think I pissed myself. So yeah. If you guys have experiences with fever dreams like that, please let me know, because it would make me feel way less alone. I share that story with a lot of people, and no one understands. Like, I shared it with Kanban, who's been on this channel before, with Bob Johnson Jr., who's been on this channel before. They don't understand. They don't know. So please, make me feel better. Lie if you have to. Just say that you've had experiences similar to that. Dreams that you have while you're running a fever that aren't scary, but still scare you. More commonly, I think it's more common with, like, younger people, like, you know, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, like young kids. So that's gonna do it for today's video. I got inspiration from Wendigoon to make this video because he did a video pretty much exactly like this. So I'll probably end up putting a link to that video in the description. Otherwise, I'll feel bad because I am literally straight up copying the dude right now. Those are weird things that scared me as a little kid. And anyway, that's going to be pretty much it. See ya.